And the neighbor happens to be a black guy who's crazy, one of these, just like the guy who was on this train with this woman, and shoots that 5-year-old in the face and kills him. And then when he's asked about it, he says, well, the 5-year-old called me the N-word, like the universal no accountability excuse. Look,
Really?
there's only three paths to go through from here, right? Either we get an effective response and these organizations like Antifa and their funders are taken down. That's option number one. If that doesn't happen, the right has two choices left. The two choices are go kinetic themselves, grab their own guns, and go extrajudicial, just like the left is doing, or die. Die. Just let the left seize authority through terroristic means. Those are the three options. So either we're going to have a lawful option or a counter-terrorist option, or the right's going to be killed.
That's right.
Apparently there's another person they're speculating did it. A second suspect of Charlie Kirk's political assassination has been identified by Twitter users. And yes, it's transgender.
Of course it is.
I was talking to someone earlier today, and they said that it's never worth it going after LGBTQ people because there's just too many unstable people in that group. And they're such a small percentage of the population. It's just not a whole lot of upside. Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow, and I really hope someone evaporates him. Literally, let's just say something big will happen. I don't know if the people, though, if I would guess that somebody that was actually going to kill someone would put it on Twitter. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? I'd imagine that's probably not the person.
Well, if they're mentally unstable, anything is possible.
That's what I'm saying, man. Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them at all. Wouldn't put it back.
I mean, it's always tricky to take these random claims off the internet, right? Because anybody can claim anything.
Yeah.
They could predict someone's assassination every day of the year, and maybe eventually someday they're right. But that doesn't mean their predictions are reliable, right? It just, you do it enough, and sooner or later you're correct. It's like these guys who predict this guy was he predicted the last stock market collapse. Well, okay, but if he did that every day for 20 years, it's not telling you very much, right? His predictions are not reliable.
Sometimes, yeah.
Yep.
Well,
but there is a vigorous and effective response available here from the federal government. Again, when the feds wanted to take out the KKK, they obliterated the KKK. When they wanted to do that to the mafia, they obliterated the mafia. When they wanted to go after 9/11 terrorists, they figured out a way to do that, even if it took invading whole nations. So if this government, if Trump wants to enact a substantive response against these terroristic assassinations, he has the tools and means to do that. And I expect he will. I'll be very disappointed if something substantive doesn't happen very quickly. But it's all a matter of choice. It's just like with the DC, the crime-ridden national capital of America. Trump goes in with the National Guard, and in a period of 3 weeks, people who live in DC, their entire lives are like, oh my God, I can walk 5 blocks and not have to worry about getting robbed. It's all a matter of political will.
Why is the left trying to make this about gun control?
They always do.
They always do.
Come on, they would have shot him anyway.
Not new.
Go ahead, Doug MPA, sorry.
First off, I live in the DMV area, and let me tell you, you can see the change. And people that have been living in DC for years, you can even go on TikTok. The only people who complain about the National Guard being in DC are people that didn't grow up there. But the people that grow up there are like, this is great. This is the safest I've ever seen it. And then also, I put in the private chat, they're honoring Charlie Kirk on the White House website, and it's actually pretty good.
Okay, let me read it.
Yep.
Let me pull it up. Share screen. Okay, it says honoring the memory of Charlie Kirk. As a mark of respect for the memory of Charlie Kirk by the authority vested in me as the President of the United States by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, I hereby order that the flag of the United States shall be flown at half-staff at the White House and upon all public buildings and grounds at all military posts and naval stations, and on all naval vessels of the federal government and in the District of Columbia throughout the United States and its territories and possessions until sunset, September 14th, 2025. I also direct that the flag shall be flown at half-staff for the same length of time at all United States embassies legions, counselor offices, and other facilities abroad, including all military facilities and naval vessels and stations. And witness, I have hereunto set my hand this 10th day of September in the year of our Lord 2025 and of independence of the United States of America, the 215th Donald Trump. Wow. Why do liberals keep telling us that crime is going down? Like, I was talking to my vegan activist and he was saying how it's an overreach to have the government send troops to Chicago. And I said, well, yeah, but crime's getting pretty bad. And he said, no, crime's down. And I'm like, there's no way it's down. I mean,
Well,
Yeah, it's because they lie. So if
They-
progressives didn't have lies to tell, they wouldn't have anything to say at all.
And
I'm
I'm
Terrence,
sorry
go
to
ahead.
interrupt. There's a lot of these major blue cities that don't report there's crime to the Uniform Crime
100%.
Report, which they're supposed to do
Yep.
every year,
He's right.
and they haven't.
Also, they downgrade offenses. So when you show up at a crime scene, if one guy points a gun at another guy, that's aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. That's a very serious felony. In most states, it's good for 10 to 20 years in prison. But if no one's actually shot, it's still the crime. But then the local captain shows up and says, listen, we don't want these serious felonies in our records. So it's bad for the stats. So why don't we just call it a misdemeanor simple battery instead? That all happens right on the scene. So all the felonies suddenly go away. They're all reclassified as misdemeanors. This is how bad it's gotten. Police departments, especially in urban centers, have been doing this kind of down regulation of offenses for decades. But a truism was always, well, they can't lie about the homicide rates because there's a dead body. And you can't just do away with a dead body.
Yeah.
You know what Washington, D.C. has been doing with their homicides?
No.
They show up and a guy's been shot 5 times, and you think, well, certainly they can't fake that record. They classify it as an accident, so it doesn't appear in the homicide statistics.
Oh.
Yep.
How does that happen? How did they not get in trouble for doing that?
Because who's going to look? The entire governmental
Oh.
apparatus is nothing but the same left-wingers.
Yeah, and they all cover for each other. You can't go after judges. You can't go after prosecutors. I mean, what are you going to do? This qualified immunity and all this shit there needs to be a mechanism in place to fix this.
This is why Trump took over law enforcement in D.C. because the existing D.C. apparatus was so thoroughly corrupt. You know that most of the guns seized by the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington, D.C., taken off of criminals who are unlawfully in possession of those guns, most of those guns go into lockup at the police department, and then they end up back on the street and get seized again. The cops are reselling the seized guns back to the bad guys on the street.
Yep.
What the hell?
The Metropolitan Police Department of Washington, D.C. is the biggest gun store in Washington, D.C. They just only sell guns to bad guys.
That is messed up, bro. That's messed up. But that's really the only explanation you can give, because the reality on the ground is the reality on the ground.
Do you know what? That's what I was explaining to my liberal friend the other day, that nobody can convince me of things that I like, because obviously I work in media. You have to use stats at times, but your eyes are going to tell you more than a stats can. So I'm like, if more people I know are having issues with crime, and I like when I was in London, I saw stores getting robbed all the time, and I never saw that in my life. I'm like, you can't convince me that crime is down just because you say it.
You go to every
also have
store
things,
and everything is locked up behind cabinets, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me the stores are doing that because they like that? That's good for their business?
I'm going to use that next time.
Yeah.
you also have cases like that stupid mayor and her district attorney in Oakland. Oakland did like a 15-year push to get crime down through law enforcement. Then that one Asian chick got elected and put this B-dub in charge of the prosecutors, and they were literally just letting everybody out. Everybody. It got to the point where the business owners said, "Look, we have to do." They recalled the mayor. They recalled the mayor and they recalled the district attorney.
I don't know. Mental illness isn't out for everything. Oh, that's true. They use that, right, to get people off mental illness.
Yep.
And anything that avoids accountability. All these people may as well be hoes, Pearl, to put it in your context. There is zero accountability. They always have an excuse. There was a case, I think this week was the 5-year anniversary, where a little white boy, 5 years old, he's playing in his front yard with his sisters, and he runs over into the neighbor's yard to get a ball or something that went over there. And the neighbor happens to be a black guy who's crazy, one of these, just like the guy who was on this train with this woman, and shoots that 5-year-old in the face and kills him. And then when he's asked about it, he says, well, the 5-year-old called me the N-word, like the universal no accountability excuse. Does anyone believe that happened? This little 5-year-old white kid called some big black guy the N-word? Even if he did, by the way, is that a justification for shooting him in the face?
No.
It's all accountability avoidance.
We covered that case on my show last night too, and that one never even made the mainstream media.
And it was a 5-year-old. What city was that in?
I don't remember the details, but we searched for that little boy's name, and it really wasn't in mainstream media. They just don't report on that stuff. When it's a minority attacking a white person, it gets literally ignored. But if you reverse that, it goes viral and it's pushed everywhere.
Even with the George Floyd stuff, I remember I saw the Daniel Shaver or whatever, and I thought that footage was 10 times more horrific than maybe I'm saying his name wrong, but there's a white guy who was shot by police and he was crawling. I do think they made the decision based on their training, because he went to pull his pants up. It was just kind of a sad situation, but the media didn't cover it at all. And I thought that was way sadder than Floyd. This was just a young guy who was drunk in a hotel room. And the media didn't talk about him at all.
So Pearl, for the story about the 5-year-old,
yeah,
I just typed into Google, black man shoots 5-year-old white boy, and it popped right up. Murder of Cannon Hinnant.
Yeah.
2020.
I'll put it
from Wilson, North Carolina.
The private chat, because I just found it too.
And then after that, it says there was a man charged. We'll see. I'm not sure. I'm seeing something on Twitter that the guy who shot Charlie was a Republican. I'm not sure true though, but we'll see.
That's another way they lie. They always say that.
I don't
the guy
trust.
who shot Trump was supposed to be a Republican too, right? We're supposed to believe these things. We're supposed to believe that the Republicans want Trump dead.
Yeah, you're right.
But here's the thing: is mainstream media.
This is why men are better than women. I'm like, yeah, maybe it was. And the guys are like, no. God.
Mainstream media has been lying to us for decades. And it's really gone up since they got rid of the Smith-Mundt Act under Obama. Mm-hmm. And it really picked up.
I'll tell you one thing. Elon Musk saved America. He saved America by buying Twitter and turning it into X. If it wasn't for X, we would not be allowed to talk about any of this any more than we were allowed to talk about the stolen election or the COVID stuff. We would all be banned or shadow banned or otherwise downregulated. If it wasn't for Elon buying X, we would, in the days after this poor woman was killed on the train, have you seen the X posts about it? Wall Street Journal, New York Times, all these, Washington Post, NPR, PBS, number of stories they wrote about this horrific killing on this train, zero coverage. And if it wasn't for the video that was on X, nobody would ever have covered it. And then when they do cover it, they say, well, the real problem here is not the killing. The real problem is that right-wing people are talking about it.
What is wrong with
you see that one lady tried to say that, blacks have gone through so much trauma that they have the right to do stuff like this. I was like, come on, man.
Doug, MPA, do you have trauma? It's it doesn't give you the right to do, you know what I mean? It's everybody.
What a joke.
Yeah, fuck you. Freaking A. Okay, Darius says 25-year-old Wilson man arrested in shooting, death of 5-year-old, police say. A 25-year-old man accused of shooting a 5-year-old who died in the hospital in Wilson on a Sunday night has been caught. The shooting happened around 5:30 p.m. in 5100 block of Archers Road. When officers got there, they found a 5-year-old Cannon Hinant suffering from a gunshot wound. Officers and EMS immediately began performing life-saving efforts. Hinant was taken to Wilson Medical Center, where the child later died. Wilson police identified the shooter as Darius Sessoms of Wilson. Police announced after 4:30 on Monday that he had been arrested and was in custody of Wilson Police Department officers and members of U.S. Marshals Carolina's Regional Fugitive Task Force.
I bet it was his first violent offense, right? He's never been on law enforcement radar before.
Charlene Wilbur, a neighbor of Cannon, had a smile on her face when she described the little boy. He would come over. Him and my husband would always talk back and forth, and he would ask my husband to put air in his tire. She said if he saw me on the porch with a popsicle, he would always come over and ask if he could have a popsicle. But what happened Sunday night might shock them so much they can't talk about it without choking up. We were eating dinner and we heard a bang. We knew it was a gunshot, so I told him to call 911 and I ran to the door. They heard the cries of Cannon's father saying his son was shot. Our neighbor saw it. She said the young man just walked up to the little boy who was sitting on a bike like he does every day. I don't understand why he did it. How can you go up to a little boy point blank, put a gun to his head and shoot him? How could anybody do that?
They are demons. These are demons.
Was this in a bad neighborhood or was this like a normal... Was, you know, I'm just curious what the crime rate was.
I mean, I hate to say it, but look at the guy.
Well, I know, but sometimes you'll see guys like that, and like I was in a pretty nice part of Uptown, and there was guys that looked just like him, even though it was a mostly like white area.
But here's the thing, though, is that guy gets to shoot and kill a 5-year-old kid, probably got life in prison without parole, and we as the taxpayers have to pay for his food, medical care, and housing for the rest of his life. We should bring back the death penalty. I'm sick of this bullshit.